All right, so what we're talking about this week, after we've pulled the seats out, after we vacuumed everything out, we're talking about our plan. What are we actually going to do with our 63 Galaxie floor pan? Now, there's a lot of things we could do, and after the break, I'm going to talk about a few of those things, but also tell you that there's things that are just absolutely not going to happen to this car.
Restoration of a classic Ford is a journey of discovery. Let Autocrafters help you with yours. We offer quality parts for Falcon, Fairlane, F-Series, Galaxie, Maverick, and Pinto. Contact us today.
All right, first things first, she's a Pisa. Or he's a Pisa, I don't know. We call this thing battle-scarred Galaxia because it's just had a lot of things done to it. At one point in time, I know that this car was a car that somebody cared about because they put a 1963 front plate on the car. There's a couple of other little things that they did that make me feel like, yeah, at some point this was a well-loved automobile. Somebody went to the trouble of getting the seats recovered. Somebody went to the trouble of putting a 390 big block. The engine is not correct because it's a 66, but the bell housing, the starter, everything with the exception of running an alternator is right. And they picked a cool car to do it with. It was originally a 289 two-barrel with a 3-speed manual shift, and oddly enough, a 9-inch with a 350 gear out back. So the car was a pretty neat car. But the problem you run into in a case like this is, even though prices on classic cars are going through the bloody roof right now, something like this, if I went in and spent all the money I could spend redoing a floor pan and doing all those other little things like that, I'm going to have far more money in this car than I'm probably going to be able to get back out of it when it's time to send the old battle-scarred Galaxia down the road. All right, so why did I decide to buy an entire car to fix a passenger side floor pan? Well, there were two reasons for buying that car. A, I wanted one with a decent passenger side floor pan assembly in it, but B, I actually needed the car for parts because this thing with this massive hole here would have not had this massive hole here had somebody not put a bag of fertilizer in on the passenger side of the car. All of the aluminum trim inside of this thing is trashed. All the knobs and all the stuff that has pot metal plating on it, guess what? It's all got way more pot metal pitting than it would have if it were a car that didn't have that stuff wrong with it, or have that had going on with it. So the other reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is that though I can get the floor pan and toe board from the guys at Autocrafters, that cab mount is just plain not available yet. Nobody's reproducing those at this time. And with things going on the way they are with the pandemic, it may be quite a while before we see those coming available in the aftermarket. Autocrafters has the toe board, Autocrafters has the floor pan, and I could do that, but that cab mount's biting me in the butt. Now, so that's one of the reasons why I didn't go with fresh brand new metal. I actually prefer fresh brand new metal. It's much easier to weld, it's much easier to work with. That car was $1,000. I got air conditioning, I got power steering with it. So all the little things that make for nicer amenities on a Galaxie are on that other car, and I can put them on this car to make this car a little more valuable and a little more fun to drive in smarmy South Carolina, because let's face it, our car show season's in the middle of the summer. All right, now one thing I want to talk about real quickly is planning. Planning is your best friend when you're doing something like this, especially when you're taking a pan out of another car and putting it in the car you're working on. Right now, my plan goes as follows. One thing I'm going to probably do is, because I have damage right here on this divot in the floor where the cab mount is right up underneath here. I am probably going to go in and actually cut this on this pan right behind where this is at. In other words, there is actually a hollow spot in here that extends all the way across that floor pan on the passenger side. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to make a straight line across the tunnel all the way to the very front, up above where the hardest rust line is. Now there is some surface rust on that, and what I'll do is I'll go in and use a grinder to find out where that's at. Wherever that is, I'm going to do a chalk line. I'll take an actual snap line and snap a line on that and run my line out across there, and then come around onto the toe board and cut across and probably through the center of that H shape on the toe board, right down the middle of that H. And then on the inside over here, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut this one with a lip up against this wall here. That lip will allow me to set the toe board from the other car on to that piece welded in place, so I'm not having to try to fight to put that in the way the factory did. And you may be going, well, why don't you want to put it in the way the factory did? And the reason is I don't think this car is worth it. I don't think this car is a nice enough car for that. I mean, it is a hard top, not a Q code or an R code 63 Galaxie. Those are the ones that are bringing the big bucks. The only thing that really helps this car is somebody's put a 4-speed in it, and I don't know if that's even a help anymore, because a lot of people don't like driving 4-speeds now. Everybody wants an automatic. Witness the fact that most brand new cars, almost every brand new car now, does not come with a 4-speed or a 5-speed. Nothing comes with a 4-speed anymore, unless it's an automatic. So that's basically all my cutout on this one. On the other floor pan, I am going to go outside of that. In other words, I will come to the back of this section of the cab mount and cut over here all the way up, and I will go above anywhere my cut lines are on the other pan. The biggest problem on the other pan I see is this section right here. I will have to go in and cut the spot welds out that are along this lip on the other pan and get those pulled in so that I can lay the pan on here the way it needs to be. This will also need to be cleaned up, something put on it to keep it from being a problem with this rust where the weld won't stick to it. Again, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on some of this stuff when we're welding it in. We're going to show you that, but there won't be a lot of time spent on all that. This piece right here, that's actually going to be gone in, and I'll just cut this little section out here and weld in a patch rather than, again, going in and working the entire piece. All right, folks, that's all I have time for today. I really wanted to give you a breakdown on how I do things with this. Keep in mind that this would be the case where I was doing a brand new floor pan replacement, or just doing what I'm doing with putting a floor pan from another car in here. The process is the same. I think everything out, I look at it, and I go through it in my head, and then I go in and actually start doing the work. And that's what's coming next on this. Keep in mind that it takes a while to do this. The cutout portion of this is going to be more than just a couple of seconds. We're looking at, a good solid 4 to 8 hours worth of work just to get this cut out. Not to mention the 4-door, which is going to be even more work because we're having to take a portion of the cab mount out so we can graft it onto the cab mount that's already in this car. So remember that 5 minutes of your video is probably 15 hours worth of work for Andrew and me. Speaking of Andrew, go and check out the Patreon account. At the $10 a month level, you get monthly meetings with me on Zoom. But even if you don't want to do that and you just want to do some kind of contribution, $1 a month is fine. Put some money in there. If we've helped you in any way at all with helping you stay less expensive on your car by doing the work yourself, think about putting a little bit of money there. You don't have to. I'm not saying that has to be done. The names of the guys that are going up beside me here, these are the folks who have put their money where their mouth is, and they are actually doing a financial support at $10 and above in the list that's going up here, I guess, wherever Andrew puts it. He may put it over here just to spite me. I don't know. Also, subscribe to the channel. We are on our march to 100,000 subscribers. I'm not going to say a whole lot about that, but just go ahead and subscribe. Click the bell for notification to be a part of what we do around here on the subscription level. And that's really it. So finally, please be kind to each other, love each other, treat each other nice. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you on down the road. I am really dreading cutting this thing out. It's going to be a lot of work. People don't realize how much work cutting a floor pan section out like this is going to be. But we will do, hopefully, everything we said in this video on this floor pan, theoretically. Because you never know. You might not make it. I don't know. But it's going to happen. You'll see it.